This girl emailed me and told me that her friend's family had a mimic in their house and that it was absolutely terrifying them, and I can see why. We're gonna call this girl Anna for the story. So this happened about 7 years ago when Anna was 15 years old, and Anna lives in New Zealand, and so do her friends. Sarah and David lived in a 2-story home with 3 bedrooms upstairs. Everything else was downstairs. There was a separate bathroom even at the bottom of the stairs, and that's important to know. And then there was what they called a toilet room at the other end of the stairs, and I'm assuming that this was just a bathroom with a toilet that didn't have a bath or a shower in it, and that the other one at the bottom of the stairs did have a shower. This house was also up by the forest near the back of the town. Sarah and David had a big family. They had 3 siblings and their cousins were always over, so their house was always very lively. One day, Anna goes over to their house and they're just chilling when suddenly Sarah and David bring up something called Ghost Sarah. They're calling it Ghost Sarah. So Anna's obviously like, what are you guys talking about? What is Ghost Sarah? And Sarah and David proceed to tell her that a couple days prior, Sarah was downstairs using the bathroom when her mom started angrily yelling for her upstairs. So Sarah comes out of the bathroom and she walks into the living room and she's like, what is going on? Like, why are you yelling at me right now? And why are you yelling up the stairs? Everybody just kind of looks at her and was like, well, why were you ignoring us? And she's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, and how did you get downstairs so quickly? So Sarah is super confused at this point because she had been in the bathroom for a while and she had not been upstairs. And she definitely wasn't upstairs when they were calling out to her and yelling at her. But her cousins are like, no, we saw you walking up the stairs between the 2 bedrooms from the bottom of the stairs. Now, Anna is obviously a little creeped out by this, but she did say that their cousins were avid weed smokers. And so she kind of just thought that they were a little out of it and maybe this didn't really happen, but that all changed for her one day. So one day Anna goes over there and it's just Sarah and David's mom, and Anna. Now, Anna and David are downstairs play fighting in the living room while Sarah is downstairs in the bathroom by the stairs taking a shower. Well, as Anna and David are play fighting in the living room, Sarah and David's mom comes over to David and is like, hey, can you please do the laundry upstairs? And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. And she's like, no, can you please do the laundry upstairs? And she continues to ask him and he keeps refusing to do it. Anna is watching him like, you are being super rude. Like, this is your mother. Listen to her. Go upstairs and do the laundry. And she's just thinking that David is being lazy. So Anna and David kind of get into an argument about it because she is like, respect your mother, go upstairs and do the laundry. Also, his mom was getting mad and she didn't want to leave. So she was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go upstairs and do the laundry because you're obviously not going to do it. But as soon as Anna goes to get up off the couch, David grabs her arm, looks her dead in the eye with the most fear she has ever seen in his eyes in her life and says, do not go up there. Anna at this point is very confused because she's thinking, why should I not go up there? So she asks him, she's like, why should I not go up there? And he just looks at her and goes, just don't go up there. It is not good up there, especially if you go up there alone. Anna's like, okay, so come with me. If it's not good to go up there alone, then you just come with me and we'll be fine, right? As they're talking, Sarah peeps her head out of the bathroom and she asks her mom to get her some underwear and then she closes the door. Well, as soon as her mother walks away from the bathroom to go get Sarah some underwear, suddenly they all hear this boom, 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 upstairs in one of the bedrooms. Anna looks at David and she's like, look, Sarah's upstairs now. Let's go. Like, it's fine to go. Sarah's upstairs. There will be 3 of us now. But David just keeps refusing and she keeps asking him, keeps refusing. And finally, Anna is like, listen, I heard her run up the stairs and I just heard her upstairs. Let's go. And he goes, yeah, I heard it too. That's not her. They keep arguing for another couple of minutes because at this point she is like, what is going on here? Like, you just don't want to do the laundry. Let's go upstairs. What is wrong with you? And as soon as they're in the middle of arguing, they see Sarah walk out of the downstairs bathroom and she's drying her hair and she's like, hey guys, what's wrong? Anna said that at this point, she just froze. Her blood ran cold because remember, it was only David, Sarah, their mom, and Anna in the house, and they were all downstairs. Now at this point, Sarah is also downstairs. She came out of the bathroom. She was never upstairs. So David just looks at her and goes, I told you that. And she is just kind of in shock at this point. But then their mother comes over to them and they're like, listen, if you don't go upstairs and do the laundry, then Anna needs to go home. So all 3 of them decide that they're going to go upstairs and they're going to go do the laundry together. Couldn't be me. They go up there. And I'm assuming at this point, Anna's like, listen, I need to see if somebody's up there. Is this a joke? So they go up there. Anna said that she checked all the rooms with them. Every single room, every nook, every cranny, there was no one up there. And there was no way for anyone to get downstairs without them seeing them because they were at the bottom of the stairs. Anna said that she still thinks about this to this day and that she also wants to add that they were 13, 15, and 17 at the time. And so it wasn't like an overactive child's imagination. They were teenagers. Anna says that she has other stories about this house and that if we want to hear them, that she can send them. So if you guys want me to email her back and and ask for them, then let me know and I will email her back. I would like to hear her other stories because that is so creepy. To hear that banging sound and that, like, someone literally like stomping up like the stairs and then in their room is absolutely terrifying to me. I would leave that house immediately. And there's no way in hell I would have went up there. Oh, no. No. I understand her wanting to see if there's actually anyone up there, but like she knew there was no one else there. So she's brave. You are brave, Anna. But what do you guys think about this story? Do you think that this is like a mimic, a doppelganger? Like, what do you think this was? And if anyone else has any mimic stories or doppelganger stories, I want to hear them. Send them to me. Drop all your thoughts, opinions, and suggestions in the comments. But as always, please be respectful. And with that being said, we're now going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Sky and Ben, thank you so much for the comment that you left underneath my video, and you said that you will be 8 years sober in December, and that is so amazing. Congratulations. 8 years is such a long time to fight, and it does get easier over time. It gets so much easier and so much better, and I'm sure you're in a place where you just appreciate it at this point. But I am so proud of you. I hope you are proud of yourself. I appreciate your comment. I appreciate you watching my spooky stories. I know you said you're a silent listener, but I just love the fact that you watch them anyways, and I just appreciated that comment so much, and I just wanted to let you know and just tell you that I love you. And congratulations, girl. Marilyn and Travis won. Thank you so much for what you said. You said that I was the best storyteller on TikTok, and that's such a nice thing to say. I also really appreciate what you said underneath that video. I will never stop telling these stories, so don't you worry about that. And I just appreciate you being part of my community and being kind and watching my videos and engaging. You have no idea what that means to me. I hope you know how much I appreciate you as an individual. I love you, girl. With that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell your paranormal experiences on here every single night that you submit to me or recommend to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories, have a safe night, and what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you so much, my spooky babies. I'll see you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
Please. No.
This is why I don't camp. So my grandfather lived through this exact same Blair Witch style scenario as a kid, and the story he told me was crazy. He grew up in this really small Appalachian town, and there was a giant forest behind his house. And he and his cousin used to go all throughout the area to hunt raccoons. And I talk about it on this episode of the podcast, but every time he would go to the edge of the woods, he would hear a woman scream. Just like this one here, like a guttural scream. It was like someone didn't want him to go into the woods. But unlike the guys in that video, a few years go by and my grandfather actually figured out what it was. So he had this old creepy neighbor who had actually tied a string to a bucket in the woods. And whenever he saw kids coming close to the woods, he would play it with a bow like a violin, and it sounded like a woman screaming. But the reason he was doing this was because there were moonshiners in the woods illegally hiding out and making moonshine. And this neighbor knew that if the kids accidentally stumbled upon the illegal operation, those moonshiners were not going to spare those kids. So yeah, if you hear something in the woods, no you didn't. And check out the podcast for more scary stories.
Hi guys, I'm going to tell you some creepy things that have personally happened to me while living in the Appalachian Mountains. So my family cemetery is across the road from my parents' house, but they own all the property, and it's pretty close to their house. And when my grandfather passed away and he was buried up there, every night there would be like a flickering light up around his grave, and there was no lights up there, like no solar lights, nothing like that. And it happened for a couple years, and then eventually it stopped, but it always happened at the same time every night. So kind of creepy. At my parents' house, they had wooden rocking chairs outside on the porch, and they rock by themselves sometimes at night. Also, my parents, they built a log cabin, and that's where I grew up. And log cabins, whenever there's temperature changes, the logs constantly expand and contract. So we're assuming this is what it was, but one night, it was late at night and we was all asleep, and there's just constant like thumping outside of the house. Like, it was so loud, it was deafening, and it was probably one of the scariest things because we honestly have no idea what it was. But I couldn't even describe the sound because it was so creepy. And the only thing we could think of is it was probably the logs expanding and contracting because it was really, really cold. It was actually came an ice storm, so that's what we think it was. A few years ago, a distant family member passed away, but they lived up the same holler that I used to live up, and the moment that they took their last breath, the power went off in the whole holler.
Happy Halloween and welcome to episode 19 of Tea After Midnight. This is a series where we have some tea to keep it classy, but I also tell you a few scary stories. So for tonight's episode, I wanted to do a theme. So if you didn't know, I live in the Appalachian Mountains and it can get a little creepy over here, so I figured why not bring you a few stories about the Appalachian Mountains. So without further ado, grab some tea and settle in while I tell you a few stories about the Appalachian Mountains. Story number 1. One time, I was with a girl on Big Frog Mountain at dusk, miles away from anyone. We decided to walk up the trail when right behind the car, I stepped in a mud puddle with odd-looking light brownish water. I pointed out the unusual color to her, then we started walking. Not far up from the trail, she started getting scared and we went back to the car. In the car, we started making out while lying in the front seat as she had her hand draped out the window. I felt an odd sensation in my back. It had happened before when people were behind me, so I told her to pull her hand in, which she did. A few minutes later, I felt the sensation in my back again, but it felt more urgent. I rolled her window up, but being a teenager, I continued with the makeout session. A few minutes later, it felt like someone had stuck a live wire into my back. I sat up, started the car, and headed back down the mountain. She was obviously confused and asked me what was wrong. I replied that I didn't know, but something was wrong somewhere. We went back to my parents' house and was assured by them that the family was okay. Having calmed down, we ate a little dinner, then started to leave. After I opened the car door for her, I walked around the back of the car. While walking, I glanced at the back of the car and saw handprints the same color of the mysterious mud puddle on the car. The last one was over the back window, and it was obvious someone was watching us while inching their way to the front driver's side window. When I saw handprints, it was like being hit with a lightning bolt, and I knew what had happened. Cold chills ran all over me. I got her out of the car, and as soon as she saw the handprints, she knew too. This story is the absolute truth, so help me, and I will never forget it. Story number 2. My name is Jake, and I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and I know all of the rules, but I broke one of them a month ago, and ever since then, I feel like I'm being watched. I'm 24 years old, and a month ago, I was drinking while on a call with my best friend, as he was also drinking. His mother recently passed away from a heart attack, so he was feeling down. It was about 1 in the morning, and I locked all of my doors and closed my blinds. He was talking about maybe coming over. I wish I had said no, but I was drunk and not in the right state of mind. He hangs up and I wait. Around 15 minutes later, I hear a knock. I forgot to text him and confirm. I go to open the door and see nothing. I yell out his name. "You there?" Nothing but the wind howling. The forest was awfully quiet. I shut the door and go back inside. Minutes go by and I get a weird gut feeling. It was all a haze. Was it 30 or 15 minutes? I was drunk out of my mind. I'm surprised I remember what happened. For what seems like forever, my phone chimes. "Jasper, I'm almost there. I'll be there in 10 minutes. I look at the text and feel my heart drop. What did I just do? I nearly had a panic attack. I heard Jasper's voice calling from outside. It sounded like a faint call in the wind. I really don't know what it is, but I've been hearing whispers in the other room and footsteps and knocks. As for my friend, I called him and told him to go back home and we would remain on the call for the rest of the night. I then explained the whole situation to him. Living in the Appalachian Mountains, there are a few rules that you come to learn. One of them being, if you see something, no you didn't. If you hear something, no you didn't. Another one being, if you ever hear a knock at the door, you go to look and there's no one there, you never open the door. And those are just a few of the rules that Appalachians follow to stay safe. Because you never know what's in the woods out there calling, trying to lure you in. But that concludes episode number 19 of Tea After Midnight. If you have any personal, spooky, or scary stories you'd like to share, you can either comment on this video or email me at the email in my bio. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful night and a happy Halloween, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye!
We're back, yay! And with another true scary story, guys, this one is from the Appalachian Mountains. Girl, I would not want to live there. Like, these stories are terrifying. But before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe to my YT channel, where I post longer versions of stories that I tell on here sometimes, and then I post stories that you haven't heard on here, and then I also upload the same videos on here over there. So there's a lot of content over there. Go check it out. Also, if you want to tell me your true scary story, my email is in my bio. It's kaisaspooky@gmail.com. Okay, let's get started. So this subscriber's name is E, and she is from the Appalachian Mountains. She lived with her father in Tennessee, where the Appalachian Mountains are. Clinton, Tennessee to be exact, and her father lived in front of some railroad tracks, and these railroad tracks have a sad history. Someone unalived themselves there, and a child was unalived there as well. She starts the story off by saying that she believed her whole life that nothing paranormal could hurt her, and the reason for this is because her family believed in God and Jesus, and they believed that if you believe in God and Jesus, that nothing can harm you. And then she goes on to say that she was wrong. But one day she's getting ready for school. She's completely ready. She's just waiting for her dad to get up to take her to school, when she has a backpack on and she walks through the living room, when all of a sudden someone pulls her back by her backpack and then whispers in her ear,
"Watch the railroad tracks."
So this scares her a lot, but she's like, I must have been hallucinating. There's no way that that just happened to me. So she brushes it off and she goes about her day. Well, when she's in high school, fast forward to a couple years later, when she started experiencing even more things, like one day she's in her bed and her bed just gets pushed. Like literally the whole bed gets pushed. And then she hears this low growling sound. Now this is when things really start ramping up, but she has just met her new boyfriend, and her boyfriend really cares about her. And one day she's walking home from school and she's on a FaceTime phone call with him, when all of a sudden she sees pure panic across his face, and he just hangs up. He then texts her and says, "Look behind you, there is a man standing behind you." He said this man was very tall, like towering over her, and very thin. So this actually freaks both of them out so much, because she didn't see anyone standing behind her, that later on that night he was like, "I'm gonna watch you sleep. I want to watch you fall asleep to make sure that you are okay." So he's on a FaceTime call with her while she's sleeping, when something super creepy happened. Her boyfriend tells her that while she was sleeping, somebody lifted up her arm like this while she was sleeping, and it was just hanging there for a second and then drops down. When he tells her this, she has a full-blown panic attack, because she had a dream that she was laying over a bed of bodies, and where she was laying over this bed of bodies, someone came up to her and lifted up her hand above the bodies and then dropped it. Now this next part of the story creeped me the F out. She is not on a FaceTime call with her boyfriend at this point. It's a different night and she is sleeping in her bed, when all of a sudden she wakes up and she feels incredibly ill, like she's about to throw up. And then she looks over to her side and she sees this old woman's face, but this old woman looks like she's holding her breath, and like she has been holding her breath for a very long time, when all of a sudden she exhales, blows the breath out in her face, and just starts screaming in her face. Her father actually hears this happen and tells her to be quiet, and she tells her father what happened. She's like, "Listen, that wasn't me. Like, some lady was just in my face and screamed in my face." She's absolutely horrified at this point, and her dad doesn't believe her. So she thought, because later on they go to church and they're sitting in church, and her dad looks over at her and he says, "Listen, I think there's something in our house." He said, "I know I pretended like I didn't believe you, but I didn't want to give it attention, because I thought that's what it was seeking, was attention, so I wanted to ignore it. But now it's been breaking glass in the house, it's been growling at me and your stepmother, and we don't know what to do, because this has been happening since we moved in." E said that after this, she actually moved out when she was 16 years old, because she couldn't take it anymore. She said that she wished that that was all of the experiences that she had, but it absolutely wasn't. She said that living in this house was like living in the Conjuring house. It was absolutely horrific. And she gave me another story, but I'm not going to tell the full story here. I will tell it on my YT. It will be on there tonight. So if you guys want to hear the rest of the story, then go to my YT. I will warn you that the story does get a little violent, so if you guys can't handle that, then don't watch it, but it will be on my YT. So what do you guys think is going on here? What do you think is taunting her? Like, what was that woman, and what is going on in her house, where there's first a tall man, then this woman? It seems like there's multiple entities. So what do you think it is? Like, is it just a poltergeist haunting? Is it just a very haunted house? And if so, how did it get out of her house and follow her home from school? That's my question. Because when she was on our FaceTime call, she didn't see the man standing behind her. Her boyfriend was the only one that saw it. So that wasn't a real person. So Tell me in the comments what you guys think. She would love to know what you guys think. She's gonna be in the comments. And if you like true scary stories, I give them on here every single night, so hit that follow button. And again, if you wanna send me your true scary story, my email is in my bio. It's kaisespooky@gmail.com. It's right there in my bio. Send me your true scary story. Let me know if you wanna be named, tagged, anonymous, whatever. I need to know all those. Also, don't leave out any details. The longer the better. It's great when they're long stories because then I can also put them on my YT. So I love you guys so much. I am about to promote something, so if you don't like that, then feel free to scroll. I never like pushing anything on anyone, but I love showing things that I love on here. So this is a waterproof setting powder by Sace Lady. It has a matte flawless finish and it helps with oiliness. It is also waterproof. So let's check it out. I have to get it a lot like that. Let's do right here since there's a bunch of shiny stuff going on right there. Oh, you guys, did you just see that? Did you just see that? Am I going crazy right now? Did you just see that? That just completely took away my smile lines. That is insane. Oh my gosh, you guys. I should have put this on before I posted the video. My skin was all shiny. I am thoroughly impressed. I just put it right there. Look at that. Look at that. I will drop the link for you guys right there. I'm thoroughly impressed. And of course, I just need you guys to do one more thing for me. And what is that? Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one.
I have to tell y'all this story that someone sent me about their experience spending the night at the Devil's Tramping Grounds in North Carolina in the Appalachian Mountains. If you don't know, the Devil's Tramping Grounds has been the subject of local lore and legends for generations. If you're like me, I'd never heard of it. I looked it up. Some say that objects left in the circle before dusk will be moved outside of the circle by dawn. I also read that dogs will whimper and dig their heels into the sand if they're brought anywhere near the circle. I think I could do an entire video on just the history of this spot alone. If you want me to do that, let me know. But let's get back to the story. Living in North Carolina, he had grew up hearing about the Devil's Tramping Grounds his entire life. He's a paranormal investigator, so him and one of his team members decided they were going to go spend the night one night. He grew up spending most of his childhood in the woods, so he's very comfortable in the woods and he knows how to read the woods. He said the Devil's Tramping Grounds in the daytime feels like any other set of woods that you'll ever enter. But when the sun starts to go down, you can feel the energy change. They got there and set up their tent and got the fire started and decided it was time to go for a walk before it got completely dark. They started walking down the main trail and they came to a set of 4 trees that all had burn marks all at the same height. They were physically unable to walk through this set of trees. They tried and tried, but it felt like they were being pushed back out by something. They had to go off trail to go around these trees and they just kept going. The rest of the walk was going pretty normally, except they noticed that there were absolutely no animal sounds. Which if you know, you know. No animal sounds typically equals predator nearby. After about 2.5 hours of walking, they finally started back to their campsite to eat some supper and to set up some investigation equipment around the circle itself. They got the equipment set up and they were doing different investigation methods. After about 3 hours of that, it was around 3 a.m. He told his team member he was going to go out into the woods to grab some more firewood. He grabbed his walkie-talkie and told his team member that if anything happened, he would call him, and if anything happened to him, he should do the same. He made it about 50 yards into the woods when he started hearing very loud footsteps. He could tell it was something on 2 feet, so he kind of figured it was his team member running to catch up, so he figured he'd just stop and wait on him. When all of a sudden, he heard a loud scream coming from their campsite. His walkie-talkie went off, and his team member, who was a former Marine, was in pure panic. He called back, telling him that he was on his way, but he had just had a reconstructive foot surgery, so he wasn't moving that fast. When he got back to their camp, he noticed that their tent had been taken down in a hurry. He could tell that he just grabbed what he could as fast as possible and ran down to the cars, which were parked on the side of the road about 30 yards away from the circle. He made his way down to the cars and he asked his team member what had happened. His team member said that he was sitting with his back towards the trail that he had just walked down, and he started hearing movement and he thought it was just him at first, so he just kind of ignored it. Then there was like a big limb, like a tree branch, thrown into the camp. He knew it wasn't him then because of the size of this limb. And then he heard heavy footsteps running towards the campsite, so he jumped up, grabbed everything he could as fast as he possibly could, and ran down to the cars. They talked for a while, and he told his team member that they still needed to go back up there and get all the equipment that they had left. You know, if he didn't want to spend the night, they still needed to go get their stuff. His team member looked at him and told him he wasn't going back up there no matter what. So he told him just to go ahead and start putting what he had brought down there to the cars with him away, and he would go back to the campsite and grab everything they had left. So he walks back to the campsite, grabbing all the remaining stuff, when all of a sudden he starts getting that feeling that you feel when somebody's looking at you. Notice a rustling sound coming from the tree line on the trail that he had originally been on. He took his flashlight and was scanning the tree line when he froze. No more than 25 feet in front of him, right in the tree line, was a black mass that stood at least 7 foot tall with bright red glowing eyes. He said he stood there for what felt like forever, and it would only move a couple of feet left or a couple of feet right, which he felt like was this thing's way of telling him that he wasn't welcome. This was its property and he needed to leave. He started walking slowly backwards all the way down to the cars, but he never took his flashlight off of it and he never turned his back to whatever it was. He spent so much time in the woods and he has absolutely no explanation for what he encountered that night. Out of all the overnight investigations he's ever done, this is the one that's really stuck with him the most. This one was so creepy, I had to tell it in the daytime. Let me know what y'all think about this one in the comments. And send me all of your scary stories. You can send them on here or to allieshaysworld@gmail.com. It's ALLIECHEYSWRLD@gmail.com. Love y'all, and I'm going to try to upload a few more videos today.
Let's read another scary Reddit story. I had a terrifying encounter in the Appalachian Mountains, and I'm looking for answers. Let me start by saying I have lived in the Appalachian Mountains all my life and have experienced a lot of strange things. My family was Irish and settled in West Virginia, but I currently live in the North Carolina portion of these wonderful mountains. That being said, I have learned a lot about what really lurks in these dark woods, but this was like nothing I had ever experienced before. It all began with my golden retriever Ozzy growling like I had never heard before. He literally never growls, so that had me already uncomfortable, but this growl was bone-chilling. It was like he was getting ready to have to fight for his life or something. I took both him and my other dog out around 11 p.m., and he would not leave my side. I noticed that my workshop door was open, so I walked down to close and lock it up. The entire time, he is glued to my side. Ozzy also kept trying to get in between my legs, still growling, and all of his hair sticking up like a feral animal. The second I closed the door, all hell breaks loose in the woods. It sounded like 50 full-grown men had broken out into a full sprint, tearing through the woods. Trees were shaking and branches falling. In my life, I have never been that scared. We got back to the house before I shit my pants, and I got my pistol and maglite to figure out what the hell was out there. When the dog and I got back outside, we were surrounded by what sounded like people mumbling. It was everywhere. I shined the light all over the woods and couldn't see anything, but the sound was coming from all around. It sounded as if you got a full gym of people to baby mumble. You could almost make out words. That's why I don't think it was an animal. I almost immediately felt sick, like I was having a mix between a panic attack and the full swing of the flu. Back inside the house, it sounded like people were walking around all night. The windows were creaking, and you could clearly hear the sound of shoes on gravel. The mumbling never stopped. Every time I got up to check the house, my feet would touch the floor, and it would get dead silent. You couldn't hear birds, crickets, frogs, or anything. I was terrified and didn't sleep a wink. The air felt thick and evil all night. That's the only way I could explain the feeling. Imagine a soaking wet quilt being tossed over you. That's how I felt. I am looking for any answers as to what this could be. This wasn't like the normal spooky stories my grandma and great uncles used to tell me. Well, okay, is it a skiggly wiggly? Is it a feral person? Either way, that's freaking scary, and that is why I don't go outside at nighttime. What do y'all think it was?
I don't know what y'all believe, but I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and you learn from a very young age to just not ask questions. I was fresh out of high school. My grandmother was sick, and I decided to move in with her to take care of her. She had a 2-story house. Her bedroom was upstairs. My bedroom was downstairs. And I had a baby monitor in her room that I could hear if she needed something, because she was bedridden. And sometimes she would, holler for a Coke or whatever. This one particular night, and these things always only happen at nighttime in Appalachia, I hear the front door is basically in the middle of the house. Like, here's the house, her bedroom's here, my bedroom's here, the front door would have been right here in the middle. I hear, and it's a very heavy wood door, I hear that front door close. I didn't hear it open, I heard it close. And it was a very distinct sound. And I was like, what the heck? Nobody should be here. That door was locked. And then I hear footsteps, like very heavy footsteps, like a big old guy in boots or something, walking very fast. Ugh, making me tear up thinking about it because it was so scary. Walking very fast down the hallway to my grandmother's room. So he walked in here and I could hear boom, 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 like fast, and then stop right beside her bed. And I literally have chills right now talking about this. And I was downstairs, so I'm hearing this in the house. I don't hear anything on the baby monitor, and I'm like looking up at the ceiling because I'm like, what is happening? And then the footsteps stop right beside her bed, which is directly over my head. And I'm looking, and I'm terrified because I don't have any way to protect myself, and somebody's beside my grandmother, and it's at nighttime. Well, my grandmother, who I thought was asleep, said, "I've been waiting for you." Oh my God. When that happened, y'all, this basement scared me when I was a kid. I would run out of that basement like when you turn the lights off because it was so scary to me. It's a big basement and pitch black. And that night, that was one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me. There were other really scary things in that house that happened, but that night, and when folks are getting closer to passing on, I think that they have a sense that you don't have, like right now, most people, and the veil just gets a little thinner for them. And so I don't know who she saw or what she saw, but I heard it and she saw it, and she never spoke about it to me. And that's just one of the things that happened in Appalachia.
Would you like to know the real reason Appalachia is haunted and scary?
There is a chance that the stories that us Appalachian people tell you about the spooky stuff that goes on in our woods, the Mothman, the cryptids, the not deer, the feral people, that we're all just making it up so that you Californians don't pack up your whole family and move here and turn a single-story ranch home into $1 million investment and ruin what's left of our natural beauty.
Probably because everybody has their whole family buried in their backyard.
We could just be telling stories.
Everybody has a family cemetery in their backyard here.
But maybe we're not.
My family cemetery is actually across from my parents' house.
And here's the thing we're not going to tell you. So, you want to take the risk? I don't think you do.
Locals share eerie experiences, from sightings of not deer that aren't quite right, to mimicked voices calling from the woods. One commenter writes, "I live in Appalachia and you're not making it up. I felt eyes on me in the early morning, but I knew better than to turn around." Another adds, "Our family cemetery is just a few steps from our backyard. It's normal here, but those grounds hold more than just our past. The land itself holds mysteries older than memory." Another local writes, "The Appalachians broke off from ancient lands. They're filled with things we can't explain. From stories of forest spirits to places that feel watched, you can almost hear the mountains say, 'You may not believe in the legends, but they believe in you.'"
Hey, y'all want to hear about this Appalachian Mountain story? All right, come sit down. Hurry up. So this woman is from Traverse City, Michigan. She said that she went to go visit some family in the Appalachian Mountains. Girl, you should have did some reading before you went there, Pooh. All right, so fast forward, her father asked her where she wanted to go for the summer, and she told her father, "I want to go see my first cousin. I want to spend some time with her. I haven't seen her in years." He said, "Okay," boom. He buys her a plane ticket, all is well. So she said when she first got there, her auntie was pretty much laying down the law like, "Oh, we don't do this here. We don't do that here. We don't do X, Y, and Z here." And she said that she really was taking it with a grain of salt. It was going in one ear and out the other. She really wasn't listening. So fast forward, she said it was late, and she said that she happened to go in the kitchen, and she happened to look out the kitchen window, and she noticed that it looked like somebody was staring down at her from the tree. So then she goes to the door, she opens the door, and she stands on the porch. And she's basically glaring at the tree, trying to see, is it something staring at me? Fast forward, she starts hearing rustling in the trees, and she ran off. She said she can't remember if she closed the door or not. She just ran away from the door, ran back there to her cousin, and she said, hey, I'm pretty sure it's something in the tree. So the cousin jumps up and was just like, you didn't open the door, right? Right? So then when the cousin jumped up out of the bed and she ran to the front, she noticed the door was wide open, and it sounded like somebody was in the house or something was in the house. So the cousin ran to the front, and when the cousin ran to the front, she did notice that the door was open, and she said that her cousin was trying to close the door, but it took two of them to close the door because it's almost like something was blocking them from shutting the door. So then the cousin is going around making sure all the windows are shut and doing stuff like that, because then she starts to hear her name. So she sees her cousin doing all of this, and she instantly thinks, what is wrong with you? So then she looked at her cousin like, you tripping. She like, didn't you hear anything that my mom told you when you first got here? She was just like, I don't really believe in that. I don't believe that there are mythical creatures around here torturing y'all. So the cousin basically was just like, you know what? Okay, whatever. We just gonna stay in my room. I'm gonna lock the door, and we're gonna lay down. We're gonna chill. So she said her and her cousin stayed in the room pretty much, but then she said it sounded like whatever was out there was banging down every single door that it could possibly be banged down. She said it was the back door, it sounded like the side door, it sounded like the front door. But then she said the next thing you know, it sounded like a door came flying open or something, because she heard something walking out there. And she said before she had a chance to open up the room door to investigate, that when she was about to reach for the doorknob, she said that something stuck their long animal-like fingers up under the door trying to reach in there. So then she said that she really wanted to open the door because she was like, oh my God, it is an animal in here. I got to get the animal out. Like, girl, and if it is an animal sticking their paw or their fingers up under the door, why you want to open the door? Do you know that I will be in there forever? So basically, she said after that happened, they pretty much, were in there all night. The cousin was like urging her, don't open that door, leave the door alone, wait until daylight. Like, please wait until daylight. Daylight comes, the auntie is finally home from the other family member's house that she was at, and she started talking to her niece, and she was just like, you didn't listen to nothing that I told you, She was just like, I know that you don't believe it. She said, but it is real. She was like, so when you do come here to visit, you have to keep in mind that you can't do what you want to do out here. Everybody gets out the house, and they pretty much, about to go on about their day. When they're walking out the house, the auntie starts to walk around the house to inspect everything. And while she's walking out the house inspecting, she noticed that there are animal footprints that looks like they turned into human footprints. This is nuts. Can y'all please tell me, so people who live in the Appalachian Mountains, I really want to visit there someday, but I don't want to visit and be trapped there because it's stuff like this. Because baby, I'll never leave out the room. Never. You'll never catch me.
Well, Davister, you heard correct. I grew up in the Appalachia for the first 21 years of my life, and it's Appalachia Mountains, not Appalachia. If you're from there, don't fight me on this. And also, if you're from Appalachia, you know the rules. You shut your curtains at night, you lock your doors, you lock your windows, you never go out in the woods alone. You use a buddy system, and if you think you heard something, no you didn't. There's one particular time growing up, I did not follow these rules, and what happened to me still bothers me to this day. I used to ride horses, and me and my friends would go trail riding a lot. This particular day, it was just me and one other friend. We went out into the woods around sunset, and this was a pretty big property with lots of trees. There were some open field streams, things like that. And we knew the trail pretty well. So this particular day, I don't know what got into us, but we decided we were going to play a game of hide and seek on horseback. I told her that I would hide first, so I went up the trail a little ways and then cut off over this stream back into this more remote area of the woods. There was this old rundown cabin that I decided to hide behind, and my horse was very docile, very gentle. Nothing ever spooked him, but as I was hiding there, he became extremely restless. This again was not at all in my horse's nature, so I started to feel really uneasy, what is going on. I decided I was just going to take him back down to the trail and just go try to find my friend so that we could get back to the barn. My horse would not budge, refused to go back down that trail. I finally got off my horse because I was like, well, maybe if I just lead him, he'll follow me back down. And this is the part that still terrifies me, but at that moment, everything got really, really quiet, including my horse. And I heard my friend say, "Hey, Sydney." I was like, oh my God, thank God she's found me. I'm like, "Hey girl, I'm over here." But I couldn't see her. Like, I was like, "Where are you? Hello?" And then I started to hear, psst, psst. And then again, "Sydney, this way." At this point, y'all, I am in tears. I get back on my horse and sprint back to the barn. By the time I get back to the barn, it's almost dark out, and I see that my friend's horse is in the stall. I'm like, what the heck? Why did she come back and just leave me out there in the woods? I mean, this whole incident was maybe about 30 minutes, so I don't know why she would have just left. I find her in the tack room, and she was like, "You were out there for like an hour and a half." It was like, "I couldn't find you. I didn't know where you were, so I just came back." I look at the clock and she was absolutely right. It had been almost 2 hours that I was out there, and it felt like it was only like 20 minutes. I told her what happened to me. We were both just so terrified, like trying in our brains to figure out what that could have been. And to this day, I still have no idea. So yes, the stories you hear of the Appalachian Mountains are so true. If you have any encounters with this or any experience, or you have any stories to share about the Appalachian Mountains, leave it in the comments because I would love to know your experience.
Okay, all jokes aside, Appalachia really does have the scariest shit. Like, did you know there's a plot of land in Appalachia that is so haunted? They have a plaque commemorating getting rid of the demon. And I only know about it because I did so much research for this week's episode, but I literally can't sleep now. So this ill-proportioned man is Adam Livingston. In the 1700s, he was tormented by a poltergeist in his home after he buried a stranger in an unmarked grave on his property. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? Legend has it that one night in West Virginia, a traveling stranger came to Adam's place and told him that he was dying. He asked for a priest to be fetched for his last rites, but Adam wouldn't go get one. AKA, his wife was like, "Please don't leave me alone with this man." So the stranger died, but Adam didn't even know his name, so he just buried him in an unmarked grave in the back of his yard and got back to work. And that's when it just went full conjuring in his home. He came outside to see that his chickens had randomly been beheaded. Adam said at night it sounded like there was a horse upstairs, like that's how loud the stomping was. But one night, Adam has a dream, and in the dream, he thinks he sees the man that can help him. And the haunting stopped after he went and got this man, who ended up being a Catholic priest like the stranger wanted. They blessed the grave, and if you visit, you can see where they marked his burial site. For more Appalachian horror, check out this week's episode.